Moment Sunday's migrant tries to kidnap schoolgirl in terrifying attack before heroic bystanders intervene. That's what I'm talking about in this video, people, because it is headlines today. And if you have been seeing a lot of the stories that are popping up at the minute, this is happening far too often in the UK. As we've seen in Dublin, it is absolutely kicking off at the moment. There's been big standoffs with the police, bottles getting launched, fireworks going all over the place, and it is going off because a migrant in one of the hotels had SA'd a 10-year-old girl. When is this going to end? This is absolutely horrendous and outrageous what is going on in the UK and in Ireland. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this one as well, obviously with it being headlines, is that what I find peculiar about this one is that when he entered the UK illegally, it does actually say in this article, which they don't normally do, an illegal immigrant attempted to kidnap a schoolgirl off the street. I'll try and say his name. Abdulmawal Ibrahim Adam, 27, from Sudan, tried to snatch the terrified 17-year-old girl at around 9:30 p.m. as she walked home from work in Swindon. Now, there's a couple of things don't add up with that article, because it says schoolgirl and then it says as she walked home from work. She's 17, so I'm assuming she's just left school and that she's still there studying and she's doing work part-time. But they've released the CCTV footage. If you go on and type it in on Google, it'll come up and you can actually see the footage when he's approached her from behind at the traffic lights and tried to drag her off the streets. It says the CCTV showed Adam drag the girl across the road against her will after he approached her from behind at a set of traffic lights. Luckily, and I mean luckily, for that lass, members of the public were waiting at a bus stop, witnessed the attack, and raced to intervene, stopping the teenager from being snatched. How terrifying must that have been for her? He then followed a third woman who had witnessed the attempted kidnap before onlookers stopped him again. He eventually ran off after witnesses pursued him while filming him. Bravo to the people that intervened, because a lot don't. Thank you for saving that poor lass from a lifetime of trauma. She's obviously going to feel a lot of trauma and be a lot of traumatic stress from this. She's going to be wary. I don't think she'll ever go out on a night time by herself again. It goes on to say her mother reported the incident the same evening, and it keeps referring to his last name, calling him Adam. I'm going to call him Ibrahim because Adam sounds like an English name. Sorry, where we are here, I'll just go back to the article. So the mother reported about Ibrahim, and he was arrested and charged with attempted kidnap. So I'm just going to go to the bit where it says Ibrahim from Darfur arrived in the UK illegally in September 2023. A month later, he pleaded guilty to arriving in the country without valid entry clearance at Canterbury Crown Court, and he was sentenced to 7 months in prison. So this is what I find peculiar about this case. Why was it that this should be happening to all illegal migrants, by the way, who enter the UK illegally across the channel? I've said it for ages. They should be checked and vetted to see the background, to see exactly what they're running from, whether a lot of them have been let out of the prisons purposely and told to leave to go across the channel. But a lot of them have committed crimes in their own country. They're not fleeing from war, they're fleeing from the justice system in the country that they originated from. So this is, like I've just said, how come he must have been arrested and he was up at Canterbury Crown Court, not just a magistrate's court, a Crown Court, and he was sentenced to 7 months in prison. So what about the thousands that are going over into the UK every day? How come they're not being arrested and getting sent to prison? But why? Ridiculous. They know he's done it illegally. They've given the sentence that he deserves for crossing illegally. 7 months. But then what do? They release him back into society, into the UK society. See, as after his release, it is not known if he was attempting to seek asylum or if any conditions were attached to his release. The Home Office has been approached about clarification, but they refused to answer. Yesterday, Swindon Crown Court heard that Ibrahim Adam repeatedly refused to engage throughout his latest case, leading to lengthy delays and at least 8 separate hearings. So he's been arrogant, ignorant, refusing to leave his cell so that court proceedings can't take place. He's refused to leave his cell at HMP Bullingdon to attend court proceedings, with one judge saying he was manipulating the system. They manipulate the whole lot of the system. They get told on the way over on the boats what to do to manipulate the system. Then they've been told if you go to prison or police station, refuse to answer, refuse to speak, say you need an interpreter, and say you don't understand. So then they get released. But why give him 7 months in prison and then release him back onto the streets? He should have been deported as soon as the sentence was finished. Or save the taxpayers money, save him from having to go to prison, just deport straight away. That's it. I'm actually gobsmacked by what has actually gone on there when they've released him. When it's blatantly, So Judge James Townsend told Ibrahim that he was ordering a pre-sentence report to assess the background to his offending before his sentence on December the 12th. Dale Sheehan, senior Crown Prosecutor of the Crown Prosecution Service, said yesterday Ibrahim preyed on a teenager while she was walking home, putting her through a distressing ordeal after he grabbed her from behind. Members of the public stopped to assist the victim, pursued Ibrahim and recorded footage of him. Their actions, alongside supporting evidence, were instrumental in securing the conviction. I like this statement by the Crown Prosecution Service. Violence against women and girls will not be tolerated. And the Crown Prosecution, the CPS, I'll say CPS, I'm getting tongue-tied saying that. The CPS is committed to ensuring those responsible for such crimes are brought to justice. A Home Office spokesperson said, when foreign nationals commit serious crimes in our country, we will always do everything in our power to deport them. It does go on to say that this government deported almost 5,200 foreign national offenders in its first year in office, a 14% increase on the previous year. Yes, but you forgot to say about the increase. 5,200 have been deported since they came into office. That's how many comes over every week. Around about that figure. There's thousands, sometimes there's been up to 1,000 in one day. So 5,200, yes, obviously they're deporting them, but it's not happening quick enough. There's more coming in than there is going out. It should be the other way around. Should be less coming into the UK, more going out. It shouldn't have to take court proceedings, shouldn't have to go through the justice system. It should just be as simple, you've come here illegally, we're not going to bother putting you in prison, we're just going to deport you straight back to where you came from or dump you in France. That's what should be done to save, like he said, violence against women and girls will not be tolerated. Hopefully they stick by this and they start hammering down and getting something done about it, because the kids and the women are not safe. That 10-year-old lass in Dublin, when I read about that, absolutely shocking. I'll tell you a little bit about the case as far as I know. The 10-year-old girl got put into care at the beginning of this year. She was out on a day out, I think, with the carers or whoever was looking after her. She's ran off. Obviously, she's not happy where she's at. She's obviously had a very bad upbringing, bad childhood. She's been put into care. The poor lasses obviously ran into the city centre, I believe, in Dublin. And then a 26-year-old migrant from the hotel has, it says allegedly, though they are going to say that, raped the young girl or essayed, which is absolutely outrageous. 10-year-old, come on. What on earth is going on? A lot of these are going unreported as well, because a lot of these kids that are in the care system will not be reporting these. I've done a few videos on here about such victims, shall I say. I was going to say some poor individuals, but they are poor, young, defenseless victims of these horrendous creatures doing these despicable deeds to the youngsters. The violence against the women and the kids is outrageous, and it's going on far too often, and it's happening up and down the country, England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. It is absolutely out of control. But as you can see, what's happening over in Dublin at the moment, rioting going on, it is only going to get worse if the government don't act fast. And I'm going to continue to bring you these videos on here talking about these such individuals, because I believe the people or the viewers watching these videos have got a right to know. And a lot of people, if you have a look in the comment section, say they do not watch any news or any mainstream media outlets. They watch YouTube videos like myself, Behind Bars TV, and a few others that I've said in the comment section, and they look to get the facts on here. And I'll bring you the facts and make sure what I say on here about such individuals, I make sure I research it properly, because I wouldn't want to come on and put out false information. But obviously individuals like this who are already in prison waiting to be sentenced, they deserve to be in the headlines on Behind Bars TV. But I will keep you updated with such individuals, such attacks, and what is going on with these absolute horrendous creatures that should be deported immediately. They shouldn't be picked up by the boat. I heard someone saying, or someone had said, when they get to the 12-mile point in the channel or whatever, then the UK Border Force has got to go and pick them up. So they haven't even got to get the right the way over. They've only got to get so far, and then the fucking thick UK government border force has got to go and get them. But I did see another article, I should have looked at it properly before I mentioned it, but I did see something saying about the border force, Dover, is on about going on strike. I presume it's because they're fed up with what they're being forced to do. Obviously, it's their job. They're down there. They probably have been in that job for years, the border force, but not for that particular reason. Obviously down there, but this is getting out of hand. And obviously, like I've just said, the border force, imagine how sick they must be, knowing that they're picking these individuals up, dropping them on the UK shores, going up unvetted, then going on to do these acts on the youngsters of the UK. So I believe, well, I know for a fact, imagine how they must feel knowing that they're the ones dropping them off. If you've got a conscience, you would be feeling like that. But I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you are enjoying the content. And as usual, if you are, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And most importantly, like I always say on the finishing point, stay safe, people.